everyone, it's Dachi, and welcome to my very first episode for City Skylines. And you are watching a new city called Linderburg. Now, Linderburg is a quintessential European city. Throw in a bit of Germany, the Netherlands, United Kingdom, France, Austria, Scandinavia, and just the right dash of Spain and Italy, and you'll probably end up with Linderburg. Now, in this episode, just to get you started, I'm just showing in a speedy build how I am decorating the village plaza. I couldn't have done any of this without using the Move It mod. And as you can see, I just started by laying the groundwork, using tiles of herringbone. Wasn't sure if I was going to take the light one or the darker one, but I ended up using the light one, thinking that this was a recently refurbished plaza, or maybe they simply cleaned it. Who knows? Anyway, this was actually a bit of a hassle. At one point I realized I left a bit of a gap in between the tile segments, and so I had to correct that. It always looks better on a video that's been sped up, but obviously this took many minutes. However, Move It really is your friend. It's a mod I cannot recommend you hard enough, so to speak. And the same goes for the Find It mod, with which you can find all sorts of types of props and decals and what have you not that you can normally never find back in the game menus. Now that the floor, so to speak, the tiles, they are in place, I figured it makes sense to turn the village square or the town square into a marketplace. And so I downloaded a couple of these old French style market stalls, and since they are aligned to the road, you first have to plop them and then use the Move It mod. So you can actually align them away from the road and in a more organic fashion. Now, one of the things I realized, of course, given that this is a typical European town square, it needs a statue. And I ended up with a beautiful, I'm not sure where it's from. It looks like a dark angel or maybe type of victory column type of monument. But I was very happy with it. It really dominates the market plaza. That's exactly what I wanted to go for. I wanted to move the stalls in a bit of an organic way and place them in sort of a half circle, still leaving a bit of a pathway, and I will actually put a footpath there later on. So it's not completely in balance, symmetrical, but that's exactly how it will be in life, right? I think it still looks way too organic compared to real life, still too organized, but hey, this is a game after all. Let's see, after that, of course, a bit of clutter, a few props, a couple of baskets, and little carriages and wagons and what have you not, just to kind of give you that feeling of we are working here. This is not just for show. Now, once everything is in place, added a couple of barrels, a couple of finishing touches, just to really get it done. And at one point I was curious if I would place more props or mark a building, but I just decided to leave it as is and then work on the kiosk. Kiosk has a bit of outdoor seating, kind of a luxury style, so I imagine this is more of a permanent structure. Add some festive umbrellas and Bob's your uncle. I never really got that expression, Bob's your uncle. What about my aunt? Either way, it's starting to take shape, and now it's time to actually connect the opposite sides with a simple footpath. Luckily, they stay well underneath the tiles, and I had the lanterns disabled. Now, naturally, a village square in Europe wouldn't be a village square in Europe without some shade. So it's time to find the right tree and plop them on all 4 sides of the plaza. I have to be honest with you, I recorded myself building this, and that's a very strange feeling if you've never done it before. Veteran YouTubers, you all obviously know what I'm talking about. You just really feel watched, even though it's you who's doing the watching and you who's doing the building. But it just felt weird, and I became really self-conscious. Either way, with that little monkey on my back, we, when I say we, it's just me. I managed to plop down the trees and then add the planters underneath. By the way, that's the way to do it and not the other way around. Don't add the planters first, because the trees will inevitably not line up where you want them to be. So first the trees, then the planters. I decided to do the planters by hand and not draw them in a line, just kind of... Well, I'll be honest, I don't have a reason, I was just lazy. Some benches, and later on bins that kind of complete the look. Didn't want to plop them in every tree, but enough for the elderly and people like me who are not old but just enjoy people watching to plop themselves down after an afternoon of shopping and just do a bit of people watching. That's something I really love, people watching and imagining where they're going, where they're coming from, what's their name. Usually I come up with the worst names. You know, if it's in England, then I call them Ruth. And if it's in Germany, then I call them Gertruda. Terrible, terrible old-fashioned names. But still, it's just fun to watch and be watched, probably. This was something I was struggling with. Lanterns. I wanted to make it look grand. Couldn't really decide on what kind of radius. So I had to do that a couple of times over. I decided to just keep this in the video. Not everything goes well right from the start, so why should I make it appear as if this was one smooth ride, when in fact it took a lot of try and error. Should I place them in a straight line or not? No, that didn't feel right. Let's go back to circle. Why not? We've got all the time in the world. No, too small. Okay, let's just try again. Maybe change the distance between the lanterns. There we go. But hey, I'm satisfied. Now let's look at the result.